All right. Hi Kelly. I haven't seen you for so long, but it's been great. And I think the last time I saw you was at a networking event back in I think back in April or March, if I'm not correct. Is that right?
Probably so, yes. It was great to see you too. You'd been out and about. We'd had the chance to run into each other, see each other at a few meetings. That was good.
Yeah, awesome. Ever since then, back when I first met you, I spoke about this group at our events, and we were very lucky to host Ryan Ottosan our last meeting, and he was phenomenal, such a great guy, and we learned so much from him. And now we
He's a
have you,
great
and we're
guy.
so excited. We're so excited to have you here.
Thanks. It's great to be here. And Ryan, I'm sure, was just a phenomenal guest to have on. He is just full of great information.
Yeah. Well, awesome. All right, so let's before we dive into the subject of this meeting, let's talk a little bit about you. So I know you're the CEO of Team Referral Network, but we really want to know what the company functions like, what is the company does, and things like that.
Great. Yes. Well, CEO and founder, I'm pretty typical in my entrepreneurial journey. My husband and I have owned multiple businesses over the years. And I had worked in the field of business networking for about 10 years. And that's the decade probably before any of you were born, of the 90s. And then went off to do a job with a company that was based out of North Carolina that was very exciting. It was in the high-end fashion industry. It kind of went back to my original love and thought, this is great. I'm going to do this. And we hadn't had babies yet. We were getting older, like literally getting older. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can have this baby and I can still travel, this exciting job that I had. And then you have this beautiful baby and you're like, I am never, ever leaving your side. Okay. And so I really had to rewrite my whole life in my late 30s. And that's when I decided to go back to my second original love, which was business networking, working with entrepreneurs, teaching them how to build great relationships that they can utilize to grow their business in very meaningful and phenomenal ways. And so that's how I started Team Referral Network in May of 2002. I was extraordinarily pregnant with my second daughter at the time. And we launched the first group here with about a dozen small business owners in Laverne. That group's still growing today. We're celebrating 20 years this year. And it's been a great ride. We primarily work with entrepreneurs, small business owners, some medium-sized companies, and a lot of independent contractors like real estate agents, mortgage lenders, insurance reps. Our goal is to connect them in a great group of members, whether it's meeting online or meeting in person, and they build these relationships. They follow our format and our environment in order to be able to build these great relationships. And then organically, very organically, they're able to refer each other some of the best business, you could be looking for when you're marketing and growing your business.
Yeah, well, I know, so you're an entrepreneur, you're a traditional entrepreneur. You start off your company on your own, and well, with your husband, of course. But I really want to emphasize something is to become an entrepreneur. It's a very hard thing to do. So it's great to see to talk to an entrepreneur like you. So let's go back to where you were in college. Okay,
Okay.
so I thought about you went to college and then you were a marketing major. So so after your graduations, so what was it like to you? Was it bumping or was it something that you already think about, like starting a business or something like that?
Well, we already had our first business by the time I graduated college. So, on the personal side of things, I meet my husband Mike when I'm 19 years old. We get married when I'm 22. In between that time, we started the painting contracting company. And I can say, yes, when we started it, I was his painter's helper. I'm out there in the painter's clothes and, taping things up and draping things off and moving ladders, whatever it took to get the job done, kind of what we did initially. And so we already had that business. But when I graduated from college, my original goal was to work in the fashion industry, to work with some of the great minds in the fashion industry. And I had already been working in that business for a long time. And by the time I graduated school, I really realized it wasn't my future at all. And it was just something that, maybe I was tired of commuting from Laverne to downtown Los Angeles. Maybe it was the people, maybe it was the ever-changing faces and businesses in the area. But I just realized that what I thought was my true passion in business, turns out it wasn't at all. And so that's when I helped my husband build his company, and when I started working in the business networking world and learning how to speak professionally and work with entrepreneurs. So that's how I ended up, moving from college into eventually owning Team Referral Network.
Yeah. So as I went the first ever since the first time I met you, you're a very confident person. Of course, that's great. And you have been like a featured speakers at some of the events. So how was it like to you? Like maybe like a first speaker events that you've done. Talking to thousands of people or like hundreds of people. How was it like for you at the beginning?
So I got to tell you, when we first started doing this business networking thing, it was actually to grow the painting contracting company. And I was definitely out of my element. To stand up in front of a room full of people and pitch my business for a minute just sent me, literally knees knocking, butterflies in my stomach, heavy breathing, the whole thing. If you've ever experienced that with any public speaking, only to now be as comfortable in speaking to a group of 10 as speaking to a group of 1,000. It really, doesn't matter. I had a great opportunity a couple of years back to work with an organization that had over 1,000 female lawyers that I got a chance to speak to, and it was great. But it really ultimately, when you develop the speaking skills, it doesn't matter the size of the audience. It's about your messaging and how passionate you feel about it, and the knowledge that you're imparting, and that pretty naturally comes through. So I love speaking now, love it.
Yeah. All right. So Kelly, let's dive into the main topic of the discussion is how can college students maximize their opportunities? For you, this is something that I'm pretty sure you've seen. Well, you've seen a lot of college students like throughout your career. And what do you think is like when you look at college students that you used to work with? What is the biggest mistakes they usually make that you think like, hey, you stop doing that because it's gonna ruin your whole career?
Well, I'm not sure I know what's going to ruin your whole career, but
Or
I
like
will.
slow down your growth or something like
Right.
that. Yeah, there you go.
I'm the mother of 2 college students, and you brought up a point a little while back, Lawrence, where you talked about how, how hard it is to become an entrepreneur. But actually, our girls are both entrepreneurs as well, and have been since they were in their early teen years. My one daughter grows succulent plants, and then she packages them up beautifully and she sells them. She's done street fairs and boutiques and just sold them to friends and things like that. Then she decided she loved growing so many different types of plants, and she harvests the plants that she grows and turns them into teas. She hand makes these flower teas that she drinks. Okay. And then she turned that into also making jewelry, the resin jewelry with the plants inside the jewelry. And so, my other daughter had a Depop shop, and she'd go thrifting and she'd buy stuff and then she'd resell it online. So if you haven't broke into any kind of entrepreneurial experience or opportunity, I'm telling you, just go do it. Open up a Depop shop, grow something and sell it. Get it. Now my other daughter Riley makes these beautiful tote bags, and they're sold at a little boutique in downtown Claremont now. It's just go do a little something to give you the taste of what it's like to be your own project manager, to be your own marketing person, to be the producer of what it is that you're making, the seller, the buyer, the packaging upper, the throwing to the mailbox and going to the mail or post office and dropping it off. But to experience that whole kind of chief cook bottle washer as an entrepreneur, which is almost always, if you have an entrepreneurial dream, what you need to be prepared to do. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go into my own business so I won't have to work as hard. And that is absolutely a myth. Okay. It is not true whatsoever. You will never work harder at something than owning your own business. But if it's your path in life that you're meant to do, and it's something that you want to do and are dedicated to doing it, it's not like it's work. In the initial days, there was easily nights of staying up like you do now with your finals cramming. It's those types of things. You're doing all the different stuff. You're working 20 hours a day and sleeping 4 hours a day. But it's very worthwhile, very worthwhile. So I would tell college students, get a taste of being an entrepreneur. And then the other thing, though, and it's the same thing I tell my girls, is go get a good paying job to back you up and do your side hustle. Okay. If you have a good paying job, and good paying jobs are out there all over the place, you guys are all talented, wonderful, awesome humans who are ready to go out there and light the world on fire. There's great jobs with great companies that have great culture. They have great, the way they approach things. I mean, there's just more and more opportunities, and especially in the world of tech. This is an entirely different picture. I'm 58 years old. I graduated from college when I was 23. You know, the world has changed so dramatically during that time. There's so many opportunities. Go get a good paying job. Even if you don't like it, get a good paying job, but get your side hustle going and use your good paying job to fund your side hustle so that you can, it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, so there's okay, so another question for you. I think this is a very important question right here is how do you go through tough times?
A long time ago, I learned the phrase, eat the elephant one bite at a time. Has anybody heard that before? No, it must not be a very popular phrase right now. So you think about it, the elephant is the big, you know, this big, huge, mega animal, okay, mega sized animal. And your problems can end up being that way. But the only way you're going to get through it is the one bite at a time. So I think really when you want to handle challenges, and I'll dive off and I'll share with you the single biggest challenge that I had. And it's not something that I always speak to in an environment like this, but I think it's important to understand. 1 year into owning Team Referral Network, after I started it, I was actually sued by a company that did business networking as well, that was 1,000 times bigger than me. Okay. Wow. And they put $1 million worth of legal fees to their attorneys to come after me to shut me down. And it's a long story that we don't have time to do, but I'll just give you kind of the upshot. I was sued for copyright infringement. It's a federal case. I had to go and defend myself in a federal court in order, because I couldn't afford to hire an attorney. You know, just to put an attorney on retainer was going to be $10,000 and more than likely $100,000 to defend myself. And really, the big guy knew this. It was a David versus Goliath kind of situation, that could just stop me in my tracks and I'd just go away. But that's not my style, and certainly not when challenged. And so, so I acted as my own attorney. The federal case was immediately shut down, and it's called summary judgment, if anybody knows anything about law, where they basically try the case on the evidence that is presented in writing. You don't have to do a full trial, and then they decide if there's any merit or not. And so they were shut down, and I won. Okay, they turned around and promptly sued me in Superior Court for a multitude of business things that ended up going on for 2 years, a protracted legal battle that, again, I had to act as my own attorney on for 2 years, and won that case. They went back and appealed the other case. I ultimately argued a case in front of the Ninth Circuit Court of the United States, which is one court step below the Supreme Court. Wow. And I argued the case to uphold the earlier decision in my favor, and I won on that as well. And so I hadn't planned on acting like my own attorney in 2 federal lawsuits and a Superior Court lawsuit, and ended up winning in all 3 of them. But I'm here to tell you that if you can get through those big, you know, like nothing seems big to me anymore. You know what I mean? It's kind of my measuring stick. And so if something bad happens, or you know, we had a situation with the website that cost us $20,000, you know, 10 years ago, and it was not a good time to cost us $20,000, you know, and stuff. When those types of things ended up not being a big deal to me, because I knew what a big deal was, and we'd been through it, and we came and emerged out the other side victorious on it. So find your barometer when you have problems. Find your barometer and you look at it and measure it and say, if it's not the worst, then I can get through this. I can get through it.
Wow. Okay, so Miss Holmes, you know, yourself, you know, you're a great leader. You know, when I look up to you a lot. The first time I met you, I was sitting in a room with like everybody's a leaders. And let's talk about leadership a little bit. So to you, what is the true definition of leadership?
Well, in the leaders that have inspired me, okay, and that's how I look at this, it's really what if they're able to motivate or inspire me, that's really good leadership. Like if I want to accomplish something and I draw upon what you've shared or told or said to me, you're a leader to me. So in my trying to be a leader, it's really about inspiring others. I hope that I'm able to inspire them to follow their path, to look at what it is that they want to do and accomplish. I never want to paint a picture that it's easy or not without sacrifice, because it just normally is. There's certainly great stories you hear out there, but most overnight successes and things like that are really never overnight. Okay. They've been many years in the making. But I look in leadership for inspiration. That's what makes a true leader for me.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the students right now. There are a lot of students who look up to their mentors, and you know because in my opinion, I know, or I feel like each person have a different definition of success. So example, somebody money is their success, but some other people, they're like, oh, my success is just have a beautiful family. So, to you is what is what does success means to you, and also when you look at success, like you hang out with a lot of successful people. What do you think is the traits that you see that most of them have in common?
So it's a great question. And I absolutely believe you're right in saying that success is really defined individually. Um, you know, Money does play a part in success, but money to me is almost always a means to do other good things, so it's like it gives you the opportunity. So I don't want anybody to ever be afraid of making money, because I used to say in my younger years, I'm not in this for the money. I'm here to just help people. And it was true. I was speaking from a very authentic place in my life. But when you make money and you're successful at it, it makes life a lot easier. Okay. It doesn't mean it's going to give you the overall fulfillment that you get from having a successful relationship and having a family. I'm here to tell you that children are the greatest blessing ever in the world, in my opinion. And so to have the honor of being a mother is just incredible. So it's by far the most important job I've ever done in anything that I've ever done in my life. But I don't want you to think that you can have it all. It takes a lot of work. It takes you got to take care of yourself first in order to be able to take care of everything else, but you can do it. But really, it's about measuring success in a way that you have impact, I guess, is more what I'm looking at here. In fact, we had a speaker, New York Times bestselling speaker, Dan Clark. He's a Grammy award-winning artist as well. He was a speaker at one of our big events that Team put on. We do an annual big event every year, and Lawrence, I'll make sure you guys know about it. So it'll be in the fall, and we'd love to
Awesome,
have you
awesome.
guys all come. But he was speaking. His name is Dan, and he was speaking, and he has a book called The Art of Significance. And it was really about, rather than thinking about being successful, it was about how to be significant. And if you could leave a significant impact upon people, that was really the definition of true success. And I loved that definition from him.
Well, um, it's just me, and a lot of, I'm really sure a lot of students who are currently on the Zoom or even not on the Zoom right now. Most of them, most of them, who the people who I met, I've seen a lot of them like don't really know what they want to do, after college, and they're very confused. Like they don't know what to do, they don't know where to start. So, what type of advices would you give those type of students?
Well, and there's a lot of people who would like to mentor college students out there. And I think probably trying to figure out how you can get some time with people who are in the different types of jobs, roles, businesses that you admire, that you think you might be interested in. I mean, you clearly have some direction at this stage of your college career because you've all selected a major, right?
That's right.
You all have a major, so that's kind of your career path. And I would really look at what are the opportunities in those career paths, and then when and how could you best learn about different elements of that career path. And I'll go back to my youngest daughter, Charlie. She just finished her second year at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, just got home the other night. She's a marketing major, and everybody goes, oh, she's a marketing major because her mom does marketing. And it's not really true. She decided that she wanted to be a marketing major because she really had no clue what she wanted to do. So she knew if she got a marketing degree, you can always make a living with a marketing degree. You can always get a job, okay? And really, if she's going to start a business, which is what she wants to do, but she just has no idea what type of business it's going to be, you've got to have marketing experience and knowledge and information in order to be able to grow a business, because business just doesn't grow by itself. You have to actively market it. So she picked being a marketing major. So she's nowhere, like many of you maybe, she's nowhere near ultimately what she wants to do or where she wants to go, and not 100% sure, or not even 50% sure at this stage, okay? But she picked something in a path. So then she, of course, now she starts to come to networking meetings with me and wants to find out more about this and social media and all the different marketing elements. And it's really been eye-opening for her, which will then start putting her on that path and place where she wants to go. But I really think you got to try to talk to people who are doing some of the things that you want to do, get to see if they'll do some mentoring. I've mentored 2 different college students previously, through the National Association of Women Business Owners. Any of the female future entrepreneurs here, if you want to learn more, that's a great organization to visit and check out. And they have a lot of stuff and resources available to you. Go to Chamber of Commerce events, meet different people. Lawrence, you've been running around doing all of that. I imagine it's been kind of an education in and of itself for you, right?
Yeah, no, I love it. I go no, I go every single, I think every single month. Like I go, if you walk around and go to those events, eventually you gonna see me. Like you're gonna be like walking around, be like, oh, that guy in the polo, like that's right there, you know.
Right, right.
Okay, since you talk about networking, you just spoke about networking. Let's talk about networking a little bit. Since you're an expert of networking, let me say that. What is the most no, what is the most effective way to network?
Well, I might be a little biased, okay, but I'm going to go with, okay, building the right relationships to grow your business through the right referrals, okay, and that's really what Team Referral Network does. But there are many networking choices out there, and whether you end up going the path of working with a corporation or a company, and so you're an employee, there's great networking opportunities. If you want to own your own business or be an independent contractor of a larger business, there's other types of networking. And you really need to take a multi-pronged approach to be successful at networking. And networking is like being in a sport or joining a gym. Like you have to put in the work. Okay, you have to put in the work. It's like you have to do the training. Okay, and so with the type of networking that we do, we have individual chapters. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds throughout the country and throughout the world. We have many virtual chapters as well. And our particular mode of networking is called exclusive category networking with networking groups, okay? And so our chapters of members are made up of 15, 20, 25 different businesses. They are members of the organization. They belong to one chapter that meets once a week. And every week, they are building a better relationship with the people in the room. They're giving a 1-minute commercial about who they are and what they do. And then at other times, they're the featured speaker where they spend 10 minutes talking about what they do. And then they also do coaching sessions outside of the meeting where they meet one-on-one as members and they share very specific information to learn more so that they can know, like, and trust each other, and then feel that, again, organically, these referrals can flow. Oh, my next door neighbor needs to have her insurance company rate. Bam, that's a referral from Sparks from Farmers Insurance, you know, and so how to refer each other, business coming for each other. Most of us hire 15 or 20 people, our sales team yet, anyway. And so when we have the right relationships and have a reciprocal or beneficial relationship where it's basically all help and then we'll all be better together, that's the type of networking we do. There's many other types of networking choices out there. Chambers of Commerce have been around for hundreds of years, literally, and their goal is to get community oriented with a lot of businesses. So if you go to a chamber event, you might have 52. Oh, sorry. I should have turned my phone off. So there are 200 people there, and you're not going to meet everybody at that kind of event, but you're going to walk away, met, touched several people more than maybe at a team chapter meeting, and relationships that way. There's also events that happen, trade shows and expos and conferences, and there's different types of networking out there that's for you. And I really think there's no one size fits all, and you really need to take a multi-pronged approach to a chamber, belong to an category, chapter of an organization, all real estate agents, belong to a vertical market, belong to a non really more about learning and masterminding than it is about business. And you can belong to all those and successfully network. Then on top of that, to network with your friends that you met in college, the people in your family. Like networking goes, you're really good at networking. It never leaves, always networking. For me, I walk around with in my brain way of introducing. Can't meet somebody and not immediately think, how can I help them and who can I connect? Okay, way of life.
Yeah. Wait, give me I think it's kind of lagged a little bit. I don't know if anybody see it. I think on your side it's kind of lagged. Um, is it
Am
okay?
I okay now? Hang on here.
It's
Am
lagged.
I okay now?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you're good now. You get it
Okay,
lags a little bit,
great.
but it's okay. Okay, let's talk about so what are okay, so as young students, like me or a lot of students, we have I as we can see, we have a lot of advantage. We have a lot of assets. So what do you think is the biggest advantage and assets do current, young students have right now?
By assets, do you mean physical assets or attributes, like what
Attributes.
they're
That's why I meant attributes.
attributes? Okay, got you. Okay. The greatest thing is the energy that you have now. Because let me tell you, it doesn't stay with you forever. Okay. When I was younger, I had so much energy. I could do 5 meetings in a day. I could travel 200 miles around Southern California and hit all these different meetings. And you eventually lose some of that energy. Okay. So definitely leverage your the ability, the energy that you have right now to do all different kinds of things. Sleeping is overrated when you're young. Sleeping becomes much more important later on in life, but it's overrated when you're young. Get out there and do it. That's definitely one of the attributes. And I remember, and I use this in many presentations that I talk about, but I remember being in my early 20s, newly married, newly owners of businesses, newly owners of a home, a house, so we had a mortgage payment on top of everything else. And I remember that blissful time of being young and dumb. And I mean it not in a negative way. Young and dumb is actually the greatest gift, because the world is literally open for you. You don't think in terms of, I can't do this. Everything is, I can do this, because the world hasn't taught you yet that it's not that way, And so I was fearless back then. So if you can develop this fear, it's actually, you already have it. I know you all have it. You may not all tap into it and use it, but when you're young, you have this fearlessness about you. And that's your greatest capital at this point, is that fearlessness and the energy that you have. Those are your greatest opportunities to leverage to be successful.
Well, that was a very great, discussions, and I really, this will be the last question for you for these discussions. My last question for you is: when I go into the events, when I first met you, Ryan, Claire, most of the people, and then you guys keep talking about, you're a young professional, you're a true professional. What is a definition of a professional?
So my definition of a professional really goes immediately to integrity and character. Okay. You can be very successful and not have integrity or strong character. Okay. And because it's easy to make money. People always think, no, it's not easy. It is easy to make money. money's not difficult. Okay. So being successful in terms of making a lot of money. Okay. But I believe true character and integrity. So I lived by the motto that I would never ask somebody to do something I wouldn't be willing to do myself. Okay. And many times I've done that, and I am still the one who, will be working the hardest, the latest here on Friday afternoon after I've let everybody go, all of that kind of thing. Because I believe in helping the people or finishing the job or doing that. Do what you say you're going to do. That makes you a professional. So if you say you're going to do it, you better do it. Okay. You better do it. And then, really, so living up to your word is just very important. And then deciding the type of human that you want to be. When we started Team Referral Network, the very first thing that we instituted, even before we had a team chapter in place, was our community outreach program. And so here I am, 9 months pregnant with my second daughter, literally at the dining room table of my home with my assistant, making all of the manuals and the policies and the structure and the vision and the website and the collateral marketing materials and all the different things that we were going through and creating and doing at that time. And I said to Raylene, I said, I can't wait to start Team, because in every single Team chapter, we're going to donate a membership to a local nonprofit or charity. We're going to gift them the membership. We're going to bring them into that chapter. These awesome professionals in the community are going to rally around that cause, and they're going to help build and grow that organization and help them impact their people who they serve. And of course, we adopted the helping families, children, women, children, families was our choice of who we wanted to do this with. And so our very first membership in Team Referral Network was Habitat for Humanity, and they became an integral part of the local Laverne chapter. And the Laverne chapter would go out and raise funds for them. They'd go out and do the builds with the hammers and the paintbrushes and the lumber, and they, attended all the events. It's a great marriage between business owners and nonprofits that serve the underserved in a community. And so our community outreach program has literally had, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of members of Team benefit them, everything from small little after-school programs for at-risk youth to McKinley's Children's Center to David and Margaret Home to Leroy Haynes Center to Habitat for Humanity to YMCAs. And it's just been phenomenal. And we do events. We've done a charity golf tournament for many years that the beneficiaries are our nonprofit members of Team. So making that decision to give back to the community and build that into Team Referral Network was immediately something I knew I wanted to do as part of what I considered to have impact and have significance.
Wow, that's again, I really appreciate, you letting me interviewing you during the session. It was a great honor for me to talk to you. Now we're gonna move into another session. It's gonna be a Q&A session. So everybody who's currently in the meeting right now, if you guys have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask Kelly directly. For right now, I'll see you guys.
By the way, this is always the awkward part for a speaker when she says, hey, does anybody have any questions? And then nobody asks any questions.
Done.
Kelly, thank you for coming out and speaking. And I actually gained a lot and inspired by your story. I wanted to ask you, if you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
So if I could talk to my 20-year-old self, not you guys, the first thing I would say would be stop drinking so much and stop partying so much. But it's interesting. I wish I could pull it up immediately, but I saw this in a meme a while back on Facebook when it was Jenny McCarthy saying, what would Jenny McCarthy tell her 19-year-old self? And so I decided I would take that and turn it into a post of what would Kelly tell her 19-year-old self. And one of them was to not drink so much. But the other one was to spend more time. It's going to choke me up. Spend more time with my dad, because I didn't know I was going to be losing him in a few more years. So for me, I would tell my 20-year-old self to make sure you're prioritizing your family. And I did. There were no regrets, but it's just like if I had known this time was short, I certainly would have done things different. The other thing is I said to myself in this post that I had done is to quit working in the fashion industry sooner because it's not your calling. And so I think if I could say to you guys as 20-year-olds or 20-somethings to turn around and realize if you're not really moving forward on your agenda of who you want to be and what you want to be, don't spend any more time in that dwelling in that area.
Sharon, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad I see you again this year. So you mentioned about the lawsuit, and I want to open my own restaurant. So having like my own business, I have to expect like, like the lawsuit and stuff. How do you handle that? I know you already like tell the story, but like, should I just, like handle I'm just like, don't know how to handle like the lawsuit and stuff.
So I'd first off with saying don't live in fear of being sued, okay? Because it isn't really that, it's common enough in the state of California to have it be something that you should be aware of, okay? But it is not something that I would plan my life by, okay? And so I have a way of handling things, and that is the likelihood of it happening is kind of what the importance is that I place on it. Okay, so the likelihood of you being sued is not that high. Okay, so although you might want to be prepared for it, okay, the other thing is to not dwell or worry about it, because it will actually take energy and time away from what's really important and the things that you could be accomplishing. But I do believe in having, and I have the most wonderful business attorney, so I believe in having a good attorney. If it's a family member or a friend where you can get discount pricing, all the better, because attorneys are expensive. But, I got recently a letter, that threatened a bunch of stuff, that we were doing this and doing that. And of course, our company was organizations older than their organization. We copyright things, there wasn't anything I was remotely worried about, but it was very easy for me to turn around and send this email to my attorney and say, tell me how I should deal with it, or you tell me to deal with it. So if you can have a good attorney in your life, they are very valuable to have. Okay, and they don't have to specialize in business to know enough to help you in your business. Okay, so a lot of times general attorneys know enough, but I really think is don't worry about the saying, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm Juliana, and my question for you, well, I was listening to you, and I know that you're a CEO, so you're in a leadership position, and I am a chemical engineer, and I face a lot of challenges with being a leader as a woman, because I'm a leader for one of my clubs, and I just want to know from your point of view, like, what's a challenge you face as a woman in a leadership position?
So we're in an entirely different position today as women than we were when I was 20-something years old. And so that's, 35 or 38 years ago, when I was a 20-year-old. And the world was an entirely different place. Now, I was fortunate for me that the women who troubadoured their way through sexual harassment and jobs, not having jobs available to them, or back then you had to have a husband sign a loan for you, or your father sign a loan for you if you weren't married. I mean, just ridiculous stuff that we wouldn't do. I was fortunate that women's liberation movement of the 70s kind of forged a path for me as a young woman. But today we've even had more of that happen with the Me Too movement and different things that have gone on and laws that have been changed and the opportunities. So again, I would turn around and almost say, if you think it's there and you are acknowledging it, you're giving it power, and I wouldn't even give it power. I would do your thing and lead by example and show your stuff and screw anybody who thinks any different about anything that has to do with what gender we are, okay? Because it's just, there's no room anymore for it in the world today. And all of the women in here are going to reap the benefits of what's been going on the last few years as you merge into your adulthood, just like I was the beneficiary of the women's liberation movement back in the 70s. So just show them your stuff. It's all, your actions speak way louder than anything else.
Thank you.
All right, Kelly, I just want to thank you for all your wisdom. I think you're just straight up and you just get to the point. I think that's really cool. And so the question I had is, how did your business respond to the 2008 recession, and how did it respond to the pandemic?
A very interesting thing about my business, and because I own multiple businesses, I'm able to gauge the other businesses as well when these things have happened. So I'm going to give you a two-pronged approach to this, the answer on this. Team Referral Network is known as affordable marketing in the world of marketing, and all the different marketing choices that you have to grow your business: social media, email marketing, collateral materials, webinars, events, websites, digital marketing, all of the different things that are available to you. Team Referral Network is known as affordable marketing, okay? And kind of more of a grassroots type approach, because you're building relationships almost one at a time. It's really 15 or 20 people at a time, but it's a grassroots type of thing. And so it's almost recession and pandemic proof. Praise God. Okay, praise God that it is. Okay, so when the recession hit in 2008 to 2012, we actually grew during those years because people had to market their business or they were going out of business. They were losing clients. There was, the whole structure of, real estate. The success of real estate is so tied to the amount of money that goes through the state of California, that it was a very challenging time with everything that had happened. And so, we had many people come to Team Referral Network as a last-ditch effort to keep their doors open for their businesses. And I had many testimonials from members back at the time where they would say, Team saved my business. I don't know what I would have done without Team. The nonprofits that were part of our organization was like, if it hadn't been for our team members pitching in and bringing food to the food pantry once a month, and doing the different things, I don't know what we would have done. Like, I heard that over and over again. And so it was very rewarding to be, the kind of the answer to a lot of businesses back then. And so Team really came through the recession very well. Pandemic wise as well too, not in terms of growth. We definitely lost revenue. We definitely had a double-digit dip in the numbers. Lawrence, remind me to say something about numbers. I'll come back to that, but definitely had a double dip in the numbers. But what we also saw that was amazing was retention. So we're a membership organization. Think like a gym, okay? People become a member of a gym, all right? Well, how many people drop out of being a member of the gym, okay? Same thing in Team Referral Network. We're a membership organization. We have a lot of churn. It's called churn in the industry. When you have 80 to 85% of all small businesses going out of business within their first 5 years, and that's who our clients, our customers, our members are, you could see what could happen to the revenue. So what the interesting thing that happened in the pandemic is we weren't getting as many new members coming in, because we went from being 98% in person. We had virtual chapters, but we had almost all of our chapters were in person. So on Friday, March 13th, 2020, we were a 98% in-person networking group organization that put on networking events and networking meetings, to being on Monday, okay, 3 days later, we were 100% virtual, okay? And how we responded to that was critical, because we were ready, because we already had virtual chapters. So we literally just flip the switch. And within a week, we had every single chapter of Team flipped to being virtual, okay? That saved us. The other organizations did not have that. And I must say, some of my competitors, and I love competition, I love my competitors, some of our competitors did not fare very well during this. But we definitely had an impact, okay? And we're even still feeling it as they're going back to in-person meetings right now. But the retention, the members stayed. We had 50% retention in the 2 years leading up to the pandemic, and we've had about 68% retention in the 2 years of the pandemic, okay? People didn't want to leave. I had many people tell me the most normal part of their day or week during the lockdown was doing a Zoom with their team chapter in order to build their business and do referrals and talk to each other and hang in there for each other. So it was a pretty cool, both major events, the recession and the pandemic, were positive experiences for Team. But my husband's painting contracting company during the recession of 2008 to 2012 was horrendous. Okay, the phone stopped ringing in December of 2007, and was barely rang for the next 4 years, and so it was a difficult time. Pandemic wise, we know what happened with remodeling and construction. He was busier than ever in 2020. But yeah, very interesting. Good question, Brandon.
Numbers. You told me
Numbers. Okay, that's the last piece of advice I want to give you all. If you're going to become a business person, you must learn to love the numbers. I did not love numbers. I wasn't about making money. I wanted to educate people, help people, grow people, have the positive impact on the people. The numbers would take care of themselves. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago, so literally, halfway through the age of team at the moment, that I realized that I was not embracing the numbers and using the numbers to do KPIs, key performance indicators. I was not using the numbers of looking at the percentages of growth and realizing what was really productive and what needed to be cut and how we could change. And we're small enough to be nimble in what we can do. And so why not use the numbers to do the forecasting? And so I hired a CFO to come work with me, and I hired a CEO coach to work with me in order for me to learn to love the numbers, and they changed me for the better, and I love the numbers now. So learn to love the numbers.
I also had another question.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, it requires a lot of time and focus being put towards a business, especially being a CEO. I wanted to ask your experience with work-life balance, and if you had any advice about work-life balance.
It's a tough one, okay? Especially early on when you're really pouring it in, you're going to be, it is going to be, there won't be a lot of work-life balance, okay? But when you get to the place, as soon as you can, get help. Okay, so initially, like nowadays, I tell people that it's very easy to hire a virtual assistant. If you are not good at something, okay, then you need to offload it to somebody else, because you'll spend more time worrying about how to do that or more time learning to do that than you will on the things that you are actually good at. Sales are the #1 thing an owner should be focused on. Okay, that's what, all of the development of the business and what does the website look like? We just did my husband's new home inspection business that we started here recently. And I hadn't started a new business in 20 years. And so it was very interesting. And I could see how you could get caught up in the design and the color and the who's our target audience. And let's research this and let's go through and see what our competition is doing. So you do all of this stuff, and all of that is taking you away from being focused on sales. Okay, so you got to focus on the sales in order to be able to get to the place where you can kind of then look at the other things. So you spend more time doing things when you're initially starting things up. But when you grow it and you bring in help and you have a support system, your life really does start becoming more of having a true work-life balance. And it is absolutely possible. I travel with my family on a regular basis. I take weekends off now. I didn't used to take weekends off, but I do take weekends off. By 7 o'clock at the latest, I try to make it earlier, but 7 o'clock at the latest, it's strictly family time. It's not the business. I'm not answering emails. I'm not doing phone calls. I'm not doing anything. It's easy to sit there with your laptop on your lap, when you're watching a movie with your family, but then that's not really being present with them and watching the movie. So it really is something that you can consciously work at, John, but initially it does take a lot more out of you. It's one of the reasons why we waited to have kids. We've been married, 36 years in July, and our daughters are 20 and 21.
Thank you.
Hi,
Don't
Kelli.
wait that long. Don't wait that long.
Yeah. Well. Let's take one last question, Kelli. I'm just letting you know it's 3:52 because
Yes.
I know you have a meeting at 4. So let's take one more question from you guys. Anybody? One more question. Last question for Kelli.
I have a question. I'm just curious, and I don't know if you already talked about it. I joined a few minutes late, but I'm just curious as to when do you know it's the right time to start your business? If you are thinking about starting a business, what would you prepare for in advance? And can you even really prepare?
Yeah, you can't. Okay, so there's never going to be a right time to start your business. That's why I really suggest starting it as a side hustle. Have a job, have a good paycheck, have a steady paycheck that helps. Have it health insurance, those are the kind of things that you don't get immediately when you start your company, or at least you don't want to have to spend that on there. Because if you really thought about it, and you ask any successful business owner, if you knew everything you were going to be facing, you would probably never do it. Okay. There's just no right time to be able to do it. But if I can get close to a right time, to me, it's starting it on the side and building and growing it from there while you maintain some financial sanity in your life with the job. But it does take extra work. It does take less sleep. It does take less time socializing. And in order to be able to be successful in doing that, then you can launch a business because you've built up enough of a foundation to sustain yourself.
Great, thank you so much.
You got it.
Awesome, Kelli. All right, John, do the honor, John.
Yeah, so we'd just like to close up the meeting. Everyone, let's give Kelli a round of applause for sharing great wisdom and all of her insight as a businesswoman and being a CEO. It's been amazing, and thank you so much, Kelli. We learned a lot, and like speaking for myself, I wrote down a lot of notes, and there's going to be a lot of advice that I'm implementing into my life. And yeah, I gained a lot in the past hour, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. It was a very insightful conversation, and yes, we're just very grateful.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored. I was very pleased when Lawrence asked me to do this because, being a mom of college students myself, you guys are the most important part of our future. And I look forward to finding out all the wildly successful things that you guys end up doing.
Yes, and also everyone, please connect with Kelli on LinkedIn, and we could like all connect there.
That'd be great.
Awesome. I'll send you guys Kelli's contact, and also guess what? Kelli goes to a lot of events, and also I have access to a lot of events. I go all the time, so I see Kelli's all the time. So I'll tell you guys about it and make sure you guys show up. So,
yeah, that would be great to see you at an event. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Kelli. I hope you have on behalf of SBG, we thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. The rest of you, please stay for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. Let's do a little poll, and we'll let you guys go. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, guys. See you.
Kelli.
Have a good one.